have seen Matilda, Star Wars, and Despicable Me. And what I like about Matilda is that at the end she does get a loving home. I like how Matilda has superpowers. And she can like move things with her mind. I think the most subjects that are hard for me is science. Or like art. Even though art is a good subject, I don't think that we should do family trees as much. The same in like French or language lessons, where you have to write it in a different language, even though that is still difficult because you still have to think about like it's more complicated than everyone else. I didn't like it in science when the teacher said biological parents, because it just made me feel really uncomfortable, and every time she said birth dad, that also made me feel really uncomfortable as well. I think the best way in this situation is just either asking the teacher if I could stand outside for a minute, or like just taking a little breather outside. That just really helps. She did take me aside before we started these type of lessons, and she said, do you want me to change and like rephrase any of my words? Instead of using birth, I said, could she use biological instead? I know it's not perfect, but it's just a little bit better than saying birth family. Also, that teacher took everyone aside, not just me. She took everyone aside and said, is there any words that you don't want me to use? And that'll make a difference. I think what's really important for schools definitely is I think they could have like an assembly about adoption, and the people that are actually adopted, you could take them aside and say, is this alright? Do you want to be a part of the assembly? Do you not even want to be in assembly? And you could ask one of the teachers, hey, can you take these people in? They do not feel comfortable being in the assembly. They could just have a worksheet to go through. I think it's really important that people know about adoption and also what language not to use and use. I think the words that I'm talking about are biological. You can take them aside and say, is there a better option that I could say? Because everyone's different. They might have a different take in what they want to say and not want to say. Even when my mom is using like birth family and biological words like that, I still get really uncomfortable. I would rather she just called them by their names because they're still a part of my family, even though I don't live with them. I think when I started high school, we had RE, but that first lesson he asked us to do a life story, and that put me off everything about that teacher, everything about that classroom, everything about just even that hallway. Like, I start to feel more shaky than usual. I can't step in that classroom anymore. I didn't want to share my life stories because I didn't know that person. I didn't know the teacher. It was the first lesson as well. Like, he could have done it differently, I say. Another thing that I want to say is that you should never assume anything of anyone. You should always ask. So you're just, even if you just like assume like, oh yeah, they have a sibling, never assume anything of anyone. Always ask, because it could be because everyone's different. What also helps is having other friends that are adopted like your situation, so you're just like, oh yeah, sometimes I feel like this, and they're just like, oh, same. Because you just feel related to that person so very much.